And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast right here on SI. I am your host, Grant Sashray, the lead beat writer right here for the North Carolina Tar Heels on SI, based out of Chapel Hill. So, bringing you all the latest news, of course, from UNC Sports. Got a lot of it going on. This just seems like everything's going fast, right? Um, and when you know how things have been going fast, last month the exact date I arrived in North Carolina. And it truly has been, a wild ride. So I want to thank Hondo Carpenter and SI for giving me the opportunity to cover your North Carolina Tar Heels, and it's been a blessing. Of course, already had covered a major collegiate program, um, which was LSU, but I was never a beat writer. It was more of like a freelance feature feature article kind of guy. Like they relied on me a lot for column articles and stuff like that because I was very familiar with the program, and also I was willing to travel out to Baton Rouge from New Orleans. And I did a lot of high school stuff in the New Orleans area and of course around the state, um, and also did some column pieces on the Saints actually. Like a few months before I had left, because I was not only doing that, but I was also hosting a radio show. Uh, a year after, so I was doing that for about a year after I graduated from college, uh, kind of making ends meet along with some other odd jobs I was doing. So to be working a full time job here in North Carolina, which is a very beautiful state, in a very beautiful area in Chapel Hill. I mean, I can't be more blessed to be here right now. So I want to thank everybody who's helped me along the way, and also thank you for all the North Carolina fans who are watching this podcast right now. So it's been truly a blessing. But moving on to football, right? Everything's going by fast, right? Fall camp's over. Well, fall camp's over for at least for the media. We had our last media availability. I mean, they're going to continue fall camp throughout the rest of the weekend, and then Monday is when they start, you know, preparation for TCU, of course. Or I think maybe this weekend. So things are picking up pretty fast, and then also basketball's having their, and going off topic, but basketball's also having their media availability next Thursday as well. So a lot of stuff's going on. A lot of content for me to cover to share with you guys. But for today's podcast, we are going to be, well, I am going to be discussing, five impact players for this North Carolina team, right? And what I mean by impact doesn't necessarily mean the best, nor does it necessarily mean the most important. But if North Carolina wants to win the season, they want to overachieve this season. Let's say they go 9-3, 10-2. To me, a 9-3, 10-2 team, 9-3, 10-2 season is overachieving, considering the fact that they have 70 new players, 40 of which were added after the summer or after the spring. So it's been a hectic ride. And also, Bill Belichick has never coached at the collegiate level. So there's a few players that I want to discuss for five. I guess that's a few, but five players I want to discuss. And of course, we have to go. And really, I would say Gio Lopez, right? To me, he's an impact player. I've discussed him a lot, and I think that he's in a different category because he is a quarterback. And, I think that's just a different category because, of course, you're the quarterback. A lot is relied on you. So, besides quarterback, let's start with that. Besides quarterback, I'm gonna say it's Davion Goss, right? Davion Goss is the most experienced. Well, not to say the most experienced, but he brings the most production coming back. Of course, Caleb Hood brings in a little bit more production because he's a little bit older. He's a fifth-year guy, but Davion Goss was the second lead rusher behind Amarian Hampton last year. He rushed for over 367 yards, had a few touchdown runs as well. But a lot has been put on him because you're replacing arguably one of the greatest running backs in North Carolina history, right? I mean, Amarian Hampton was a two-time All-American running back. He was a two-time All-ACC player. And on top of that, he was a first-round draft pick. And that's rare for a running back to get drafted in the first round now because of how much the game has changed. And also running backs are really expendable. And Davion Goss can be thrown into the fire. And I think the running back room is going to be more by committee. So I guess you could really say the whole running back room. But I think Davion Goss, especially because he has the most production coming back. I think the second biggest impact player, in my opinion, or not the second biggest, but another one of five impact players is Aiden Buchanan. And I was at practice yesterday, and I discussed it on my my recap podcast that was released actually earlier this morning. It was a little bit late, but Aiden Buchanan is starting at left tackle, and the reason why I know that is because at practice, you're not really allowed to see anything. But however, if you look through like the field house, through the windows, you can see, they didn't have the retractable doors down. They actually had them up, so you could actually see some bits of the field. And one of the things I've noticed is that Aiden Buchanan is starting left tackle now. There have been some murmurs about him being the starting left tackle, but that to me, I need to see with my own eyes, and he was the starting left tackle. And he's 6'9", 330 pounds, and he beat out two veteran players. He beat out Trevion Green, who was a starter there last year, and he beat out Will Osteen. And Will Osteen is somebody I've talked about before that I thought was going to be a starter because he was a two-time all-conference player at Jacksonville State. They were a top 5 rushing offense the last 2 seasons, and we know that Freddie Kitchens wants to have a physical type of offense. And he's not even starting. He's part of the second group. It's actually Aiden Buchanan. And when you're a freshman left tackle, first of all, the left tackle position is the most important when it comes for college football. However, Gio Lopez is a left-handed quarterback. So he necessarily doesn't have, yes, it's still important, but it mostly goes to the right tackle, right? And the right tackle right now is Ja'Kai Moore. And Ja'Kai Moore is this will be his 7th year of college football. So it makes sense why Ja'Kai Moore is at right tackle instead of left tackle. But it's a huge development because he's a true freshman. Yes, he's 6'9", 330 pounds. That dude is a giant. But, when he comes to freshman, how many starting left tackles are freshmen in college football? Think about it. No, really, think about it. I remember when I was covering LSU, Will Campbell was the starting left tackle for LSU as a freshman. He was the first one in the history of LSU to even be a freshman left tackle. Not only that, he became an All-American at the end of the year as a freshman. It's rare that you see freshmen as a starting left tackle. They may be a starting right tackle. They might be a guard. They even might be a center. But you don't see it as much as a left tackle because of how integral the left tackle position is. As a matter of fact, Lawrence Taylor is a great example of that. Lawrence Taylor, yes, he's not a left tackle. He's a linebacker. But one of the biggest reasons why left tackle is so important is because they protect the quarterback's blind side. They discussed that in the movie, The Blind Side. And one of the biggest reasons why Joe Theismann's career ended is because the left tackle didn't do his job. He didn't block Lawrence Taylor properly, and Lawrence Taylor killed him and, snapped his leg. I'm not going to show that play because it's absolutely disgusting. But you get the point. He has a very important job on his hands. He's got to protect Gio Lopez. And yes, now he's not blocking Gio Lopez's blind side. You still got to protect your quarterback. And we're relying a lot, and Bill Belichick and Will Friend are relying a whole lot on a freshman. However, Will Friend is one of the better offensive line coaches in the country. I'm not going to doubt him. So the fact that Aiden Buchanan got the green light from not only Belichick but also Will Friend lets me know that he might be the guy for the rest of the year unless he doesn't play well when the games get rolling. Another player I think is going to be an impact player is DeAndre Johnson, right? We all know about the defensive tackles. We know that the defensive tackles do not bring back a whole lot, right? They lost a whole lot of production, and really you can say that about the whole team. But DeAndre Robinson will be seen as a leader of this group because of not only the lack of production, but this could be a weakness for this team. because there's not really a whole lot of depth on the defensive interior. There's a lot of depth on the ends, on the edges, but there's not a whole lot of depth on the inside. And somebody like DeAndre Robinson can be a difference maker. DeAndre Robinson, by the way, he's only a redshirt freshman. However, he's technically, he played a whole lot of Florida. I don't know the exact details of why he's a redshirt freshman. There's got to be a reason. But DeAndre Robinson played one season at Florida last year in SEC school, played in all 11 games. He had 17 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 3 stops as a rotational player. He wasn't even a starter. He was a rotational player. And he put up 17 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, and 3 stops. That's actually really good, especially for an interior guy. He does need to work a little bit on his pressure rate, but overall, like, he is still a young player. He still has time to grow. I mean, he's going to be working with Bob Diaco. And I think Bob Diaco is going to do a great job of getting him ready to play this season. Of course, he already played at Florida, so he's played SC ball, but he's 6'4", 315, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a big boy. He is 6'4" and 315. I mean, you got 6'4", 315 defensive lineman. That's a good deal. It really is. And he still has time to get better as a player and get bigger and get more mature mentally. So he's still got a lot of time, and I think he will be an impact player for North Carolina because he will be a very important one. The next player I want to talk about is Andrew Simpson. I know a lot of people want to talk about Kamari House. And Kamari House is a fantastic player. We've discussed him on the show before. But Andrew Simpson, the reason why he stands out to me is because he's a senior. He's a senior leader. And so, you know, you kind of expect more from a guy like Andrew Simpson, who has played in 40 games throughout his career, has started in 25 of them, is a guy that was a starter on a playoff team last year in Boise State, and is not afraid of big-time competition. Throughout his career, 141 tackles, 32 tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 5 forced fumbles. Last season, he had 46 tackles. He had 11 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, interception, and 3 forced fumbles, which was tied for the most in the Mountain West Conference. And he even played in all of Boise State. Remember, Boise State played 14 games. He only played in 11. And when he did play a full season, which was 13 games, 66 tackles, 16 tackles for a loss, which also was tied for the first in the Mountain West in 2023, 6.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles. He is a force to be reckoned with. He's not afraid of the competition. He loves being out there and going to war with his teammates. That's the type of player you want on your roster. And Bill Belichick knows him. That's why I try to get him to come from Boise State, because he's a hell of a player. And he's going to be very important because he is one of the seniors on the team. And I think even more so than Kamari House, because, once again, he has experience. More is probably expected of him than Kamari House, because Andrew Simpson is seen as more of a senior leader. He is one of the seniors on this team. And he's played on the big stage. Very, very important. And then finally, the fifth and final player I want to talk about, of course, is none other than Thad Dixon. 2 interceptions, 16 pass breakups, 69 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, and a forced fumble the last 2 seasons. He was an all Big Ten honorable mention. I mean, and he's an older player. He's a 50-year senior. He played 2 years at Long Beach Community College, and he played the last 2 years at Washington. He knows the defense. He knows Steve Belichick really well. And so it's very important to have those type of guys on your team, like a Kamari House and a Thad Dixon, that they came from a stop where the defense coordinator was there. And the defense coordinator at Washington last year is Steve Belichick. And Steve Belichick is now on UNC staff. And the fact those guys already know his game plan and what he wants to do is very important. And that's why I think that Dixon is very important, because not only is he a great player and can help improve this pass defense, but he also knows the defense, and really he's a glue guy. That's what he is. He brings the team together. He's always cracking jokes with his teammates. He's a glue guy, and that's exactly what Thad Dixon is. That's going to wrap up today for the Tar Heels Insider Podcast right here on SI. Make sure to go check out our Twitter page at Tar Heels on SI. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter as well. My Twitter handle is in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And then, of course, make sure to like our Facebook page as well. Posting live content each and every day. Make sure to go check it out on all the latest for your North Carolina Tar Heels. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all later.